Alrighty, so today we're going to finish up the review of what was a very chaotic match week on the return of MLS after a month-long Leagues Cup break. Because if you thought that the first part where we look at the first 6 games were chaotic and there was a lot of high-scoring affair and some surprising resources, well then the last 6 games is going to kind of almost blow that away, as well as in these last 6 games and its turns to these late night games, there were definitely some surprises, some result that no one saw coming, and then we also saw probably one of the best game of the season and a clear example of when MLS really gone after dark. But we start off with the first game, which is Houston versus Toronto, and this is one of the big surprise of this match week. As Toronto, I know that they had a relatively good lead Cup run, and I know it eventually ended in the hands of Inter Miami, but they fought hard in that game, and they should feel no shouldn't feel anything ashamed from that resort. But coming back into league play, I mean, yes, they are still above the red line and trying to stay to that, but they haven't really done well when it comes to their league play. And in this game against a Dynamo team that pretty much has been very good this season at home, well, TFC they put up a really good road performance to get the 1-0 win. Now in the first half, 12 minutes in, the first shot for the Dynamo did see Ponce puts it right to Johnson on the free kick before Dorsey puts it wide on the volley. As the shots were free too for Houston early on, they were on the front foot and they were pressing for the opener. Johnson would then deny Savitrenko from long range, and then Blessing would head it wide from close, and then Dorsey had a shot that was deflected and goes wide. And really, early on, at least in the first half, there was no signs the fact that TFC was going to get a win in this one. I mean, it was all Houston up to this point. But the problem is, it was still 0-0, and that was due to the fact that Houston was not doing a good job in terms of finishing and unable to get the opener, and that will come back to bite the Dynamo as we head in the second half, because whatever John Herman made the adjustment in the second half, it worked. Because in the second half, after the first half was 0-0 and they survived the Dynamo pressure for the first 45 minutes, Owusu would hits one right to Clark. As I thought Toronto started well in the second half, they were looking for the opening goal. And they do. As in the 54th minute, Prince Owusu, the drought has finally finish, as this is his first goal that he have scored since May. It's hard to believe that it's been that long since Prince Owusu had found the back in the net, but he scored here from Benedeski to give TFC a 1-0 lead. Etienne then missed wide after just a bad turnover here from the Dynamo, and then Benedeski hits it right to Clark in the 58th minute. Again, the momentum was with Toronto, and again, whatever John Herman said to this team at halftime, it has worked to a treat because it looked completely night and day of how they were playing in the first 15 minutes of the second half compared to what they were in the first half. Though in the 62nd minute, we had a bit of a crazy sequence where Bossi had a shot that was clear off the line, but then it falls to Escobar, and he hits the post as he was aiming for the empty net. And I thought that at that point, it looked like it could be one of those nights for the Houston Dynamo, and maybe one of those nights too, especially for the team that is in favor, where they just cannot put the ball into the back of net. It feels like they are just completely snake bitten. Owusu then hits it wide from the corner before Dorsey hits it wide from close range. Johnson then denied Kovacic from close as the Dynamo started to press hard for the equalizer. And this is where you start to see TFC kind of bunker and hope for 3 points. And this is where you start to be a little concerned if you're a TFC fan, because as I said, when you're the road team and you do that, usually it's not going to end up well for you. Herrera then hits one to Galveston on the free kick. Yeah, he did not put that one on target. Definitely not one of the more memorable free kick attempt from Hector Herrera. And then Ferreira had a shot that was deflected and goes wide. But yeah, in the end, Toronto, they get the big 1-0 win. Really helped their causes in terms of the playoff push and at least stay above the red line. That is. Shots in this one, 17 shots per the 10 that TFC had, 5 shots on goal per the 4 that TFC had, 6 shots off target per the 2 that TFC had, 6 shots that was blocked per the 1 that TFC had, and possession wise, 67% possession compared to the 33% possession that Toronto has in this game. But all credit has to go with TFC. They did a good job in this game of finding that clinical finishing, and not to mention surviving the pressure that the Dynamo was given. I mean, with the way that how they've been defending this year, at least ever since the summer period, it is not very often you see this TFC team able to walk away with a clean sheet, but that's exactly what they did in this game against a potent Dynamo team that I feel like this is just one of those games for Van Olsen where they just couldn't find the finish, and if they would have done so, this probably would have been an easy win for them. Now, that being said, moving on in terms of the next match, it is Sporting KC and Orlando. So you could kind of say that this is also a surprising result as well, because Sporting KC. I know they're once again putting their eggs all in the U.S. Open Cup basket, as what we saw a couple of years ago. Obviously, that didn't end up well with them losing to Sacramento in the semifinal, and time will tell whether if that could happen again when they play against Indy 11, another USL Championship side in the semifinal. But when it comes to their league play, even though they don't have a lot to play for, they definitely play probably the best home game that they played the whole season against Orlando. Straight from the kickoff, Tommy actually tried to catch Galese off his lines there. I'm kind of surprised. Not many players have tried to do this more often. I mean, I know usually this doesn't end up well when someone try to hit it straight from the kickoff, but I'm surprised not many players tried to do so, especially in a day and age where we have seen a lot of players score long range effort and try to chip the goalkeeper from the halfway line, as we've seen so much in MLS play. I'm surprised we haven't seen more players try to do so and keep the goalkeeper on it straight from the kickoff. Though that being said, Milia did deny Etienne after just a bad giveaway there from Sporting. Enrique missed wide after an outstretch as he was trying to outstretch in the 6th minute. Orlando, I thought, looked like they were the better team early on, and really, besides that one chance that Sporting KC had, Orlando actually was the better team, at least in the first bit of this game. We then go through a period where not much really happened. A lot that has happened. Galese would then deny Showery from long range in the 30th minute, and after a slow start, I thought Sporting started to wake up. They were looking to try to get the opening goal. Tommy would then flash one wide from long range before Agata would put one just over the bar in the 43rd minute. But then the 44th minute, on the back of sustained pressure, Jake Davis would score a rare goal from a free to make it 1-0 in favor of Sporting KC. So when Jake Davis gets on the score sheet, it's going to be a banger, and it kind of was. I mean, it was a nice run there from Jake Davis and tucked it home in the back post. But yeah, again, that goal has been coming. Sporting KC was pushing hard to try to get the opening goal, and also just some sloppy defending there from Orlando City as well. Ojeda then looked to respond immediately, but he puts this one wide. But Orlando feel like they should have got a penalty after Cartagena was taken down in the box. No call was given as a result, and then Agata on the other end puts it high from long range, and we do head to halftime with Sporting KC leading 1-0. In the second half, they would make it 2-0 as Daniel Showery, only his second goal of the season. It's been a rough season for Daniel Showery. It's been a rough season for that front three for Sporting KC, but he scored here from Tommy and who else? Oh god, this is kind of embarrassing, the fact that I couldn't even recognize my own writing there. But either way, that made it 2-0 in favor of SKC. Enrique did look to answer, and he actually did put the ball into the back of net. The flag unfortunately didn't agree with him there, so yeah, that goal was disallowed for offside. Galese would then deny Polito from close range, and then we had a red card in the 70th minute, and this was kind of one of those silly play where Gata was gonna get sent off no matter if it's a second yellow or a straight red. They actually did go to review to see whether indeed it was a straight red. But again, it was a second yellow either way. And in the end, VAR did deem that gotta commit a serious foul play on Torres there. So yeah, instead of a second yellow, it's a straight red card. But again, unlike in the Premier League where you get maybe a couple of games of suspension for a straight red, it really doesn't matter in MLS. He's gonna be suspended in the next game either way. Though I will say that maybe that gives the disciplinary committee maybe something to think about. Maybe the serious foul play that we saw here, well, it's worth a 1 game suspension because of the red card. There could be a case where it could be an additional game suspension, because usually when it comes to serious foul play, depending on how Disco look at it, maybe Agata could get another game. So maybe that VAR call does play a big dividend in terms of what Disco is going to have to decide whether it's just going to be a normal 1 game suspension for Agata, or it could be another game suspension because of that serious foul plays. But that being said, despite that fact that Sporting was down a man, they actually had done a good job in terms of holding firm, which that was kind of not expected, because I thought Sporting was going to absolutely collapse, because I'm pretty sure SKC fans have seen this happen many times. As soon as late in this game, they just completely the stroke. But instead, again, the opposite happened in this one as in the first minute of stoppage time, Remy Voltaire would score from Polito and Russell to give Sporting a 3-0 lead, and one of the rare time that SKC really put the game away in the last 15 minutes of the game, as in the end, it was a comfortable 3-0 win that they had against Orlando. The shots in this one, 13 shots compared to 12 that Orlando has, but the shots on goal heavily in favor of SKC. 6 shots on goal compared to just 1 that Orlando has. 7 shots off target compared to 5 that SKC had. 2 shots that was blocked compared to 3 that Orlando has. And possession-wise, Orlando had more of the possession, 53% possession compared to 47% possession that SKC has. And again, by far the best home performance that Sporting KC has had this season. Although again, it feels like it's a little too late when it comes to making a playoff race push. And as I said, this team is putting all their eggs in their basket in terms of the U.S. Open Cup run, and that's kind of what could determine whether or not if they can have a successful full season. And for Orlando, this is arguably one of the worst performances that they played this season. Probably the worst performance that they have done on the road, and that's not great news if you're an Orlando City fan, because you thought that this team, with the way how good they were heading into the Leagues Cup, things were going to do well. And yeah, this is definitely a bit of a setback. Although again, maybe it's a setback because they haven't played games. And again, I think the reason why we're seeing a lot of upsets this week is because with teams that haven't played a lot of games, and I even mentioned it in the beginning, this feels like it's a brand new season with the way that a lot of these teams haven't played in a couple of weeks, and this is where we see some unexpected the resort, and those unexpected resort would continue as we go through these games. But moving on, in the next one, we got Austin versus Nashville. So this one, I wouldn't say it's a bit of an unexpected resort. I mean, this is a game between two teams that are kind of in similar position where they are in the standing, fighting for those playoff position. But in the end, Austin, this is probably one of their better role performance that they had this season. And for Nashville, yeah, the BJ Callahan era has definitely got off to a rough start so far. But early on, it actually looked like it was going to be a great start for Nashville, as they got a penalty after VAR deemed that Schaffelberg was brought down by Hindsight in the box. But Stuver was able to deny Mukhtar as he pushed this one onto the post. It's been that kind of season for Hani Mukhtar. He has completely looked like a shell of his old self. He has looked nothing like the MVP level of Hani Mukhtar that we saw a couple of years ago. In fact, remember a couple of years that this was supposed to be a marquee game between Dreyusi and Mukhtar, and both of those guys were fighting for MVP a couple of years ago when they're at their peak of the power. How things have changed in a span of just two years now. Both of those guys have not really had a good season for their respective team whatsoever. Though that being said, Mukhtar did try to make up for it in the ninth minute, but he hits one right to Stuver before Schaffelberg also hits it right to Stuver as Nashville continue to be on the front foot. Well, this was your typical Austin game where they're just going to play bend but don't break at the back and hope that Brad Stuver would just bail them out and maybe score a lucky goal as they've done so far throughout the season. It didn't turn out that way though, because Austin started had some chances. Dreyusi would head it wide from close range, but then Dreyusi would put the ball into the back of the net, but the goal was disallowed because there was a foul in the box as Bakari foul Bauer in the box there. There was really not much into that foul, but I can understand in that circumstances, maybe the defender gets the benefit of doubt. Nevertheless, it doesn't stop Austin getting the 1-0 lead before halftime, because just 6 minutes later, they would make it 1-0 as John Gallagher would score from ring to give Austin a 1-0 lead, and that would be the scoreline as we head into the second half. In the second half, Stuver would deny Anuga on the volley, and then Zimmerman would hit the side netting on the ensuing corner. Nashville once again on the front foot. They were looking to try to get the equalizer. Again, this is a Nashville team that is completely different than what we seen with a Gary Smith Nashville side. And maybe this is why they're kind of getting off to a slow start, because, BJ Callahan, the style that he has implemented is completely the opposite of what Gary Smith wants to do, and it's going to take time for these players to try to adjust that. This is a team that have definitely been not bunkering and just kind of solely look for counterattack and set piece chances as their main category in terms of chances of great. They actually are started to look more attacking and started to hold more possession than what we ever seen with the Gary Smith team when he was with Nashville. But in the 61st minute, Willis would deny Bakari from close before Gallagher would put one into the side netting. Dreyusi then hits a one-hopper right to Willis as Austin started to press back to try to look for that that crucial second goal to kill this game off. Though on the other end, Stuver would deny Surridge from close, and then on the other end, Willis would deny Gallagher, but Driussi had a free header there and an empty net. And he missed on. It's just yeah, it's been that kind of season for Driussi. See as well. You just have at times have no luck in front of goal. But you know who has had luck in this game in front of goal? It's Bakari. He finally scored his first career MLS goal in the 84th minute, and he can thank Nashville for this because it was a mishap at the back. It all started with a giveaway there, and then just Willis come off the hit slide inexplicably, didn't get there in time. Bakari basically rounds him, puts it into the empty net, and just like that, Austin basically killed this game off. Driussi then puts it wide from close range in the 30 or in the 87 minutes. That is, I said 37 minutes. That's not even anywhere close to that. But anyway, in the end, Austin with a big 3 points on the road in this game, a 2-0 win against Nashville. Shots in this one, 18 shots for the 14 that Austin has in this one. 7 shots on goal for the 6 that Austin has. Overall, it was actually a pretty even game, but one team was more clinical in this game, and the other team just kind of met Brad Stuver, who, again, this is not the first time we've seen him put up these kind of performance, able to single-handedly give 3 points to Austin. And also, not to mention, I think Austin also lost the expectancy goal battle in this game as well. But that's good news for Austin because whenever they win games this season, it's always when they lose the expectancy goal, and always they're the one that looked like they were completely outplaying. And well, I wouldn't say they got completely outplayed in this one. They were definitely outplayed with the way that Nashville definitely created a lot of chances. 1 shots off target with 5 that Austin had, 3 shots that was blocked with the 9 that Nashville has, and possession wise, 56% possession compared to 44% possession that Austin has in this one. So good win here for Austin. And for Nashville, again, there's still more work to do for BJ Cowan and this team. And again, because of this different style that they run, it's gonna take a while to get things going. But unfortunately, if Nashville is thinking about making a late playoff push, they cannot wait for this to eventually take shape because again, that playoff chance is definitely slipping if they don't figure this out sooner or later. Now, moving on in terms of the next match to probably the most surprising result of this match week, and maybe one of the most surprising result of the season. Quakes actually won a road game. I cannot believe the Quakes actually won a road game, and they didn't just win a road game. They won a road game against one of the better team this season at home, and a team that a couple months ago was deemed to be a team that could be chasing for the first spot and could legitimately be an MLS Cup contender in the Western Conference. Now, obviously, RSL they kind of hit a bit of a rough patch. They didn't really have a good Leeds Cup run as well, but yeah, I mean, I can't believe that not only the Quakes won this game, but they got a shutout in this one as well. And I also said before that I know the Quakes does match up RSL very well. I mean, when you look at the head-to-head, this shouldn't be too much of a surprise. For whatever reason, RSL always have problems whenever they face against the Quakes, and this game always tends to be much more competitive than what people said it be. And yeah, there you go. That's exactly what happened in this game. And this is a classic example. That's why you play the game, and why MLS on any given Saturday we could see a shocking result just like this. Now in the first half, McMath would deny Euro from 20 seconds into this game, and then Arango would puts it high from long range before Gonzalez Wood puts it high from long range in the 5th minute. Espinoza then puts it high or puts it right to McMath on the free kick. And again, it was a fast start to this game. Again, with both of these teams haven't played in more than 2 weeks, you wouldn't expect the fact that both of these teams were going to go all out gun blazing at least early in this one. And at least early on, it is pretty clear that Quakes they didn't just back down in this game. I mean, they could have easily done so. I could have easily said this is a typical Quakes road game where it's a slow start. They're going to get absolutely annihilated by a better team. But no, they were going toe to toe with RSL in this one. Crooks would then heads it right to Danielle in the 13th minute before Buddha would heads it wide from the corner. And keep in mind, another crazy thing that make this even more improbable for the Quakes to get the win. We did not had Jeremy Abobasi in this game. Jeremy Abobasi picked up a knock coming into this game. So Buddha, of course, it was in this one, and that yeah, I mean, I thought that was kind of a bit of a loss that the Quakes did not have Abobasi, because it feels like Abobasi have finally figured it out, especially having a good Leeds Cup run. But there was no doubt that the Quakes have looked good against a top tier side. It definitely looked like they came to play, and they were rewarded in the 20th minute when Espinoza would score from Jackson Yu to give the Quakes a 1-0 lead. That came off of a bad turnover from RSL, but that is one that McMath absolutely should have saved. And this is not the first time I've said this with Zach McMath. I've said this many times before. There has to be concern if you're RSL and if you're Pablo Mastroeni that Zach McMath is just is not it for this RSL team. If this is a team that is considered to challenge some of the top team in the Western Conference and be a MLS Cup contender, they have to Zach McMath has to be better. This is not the first time we have seen this. We have seen this way too many times. And I know some people say, well, why not throw Gavin Beavers in there as well? Well, Gavin Beavers, yes, he had some good game as well, but he's also kind of inconsistent as well. So the goalkeeping has been a big problem, at least this season for RSL, and that's another example of it. One that McNabb could have saved it easily. But take nothing away, the Quakes deserved that lead. They were up 1-0. We then had some coming together after Espinoza and Catranes share some displeasure. Something tells me Catranes and Espinoza wasn't talking about how great that goal that Espinoza score just a couple of minutes before. But Arango then heads it wide from close range in the 26th minute before McNabb would deny Pellegrino on the back heel. By the way, Chicho Arango, he has not looked the same ever since that suspension that he has had. He has really struggled lately, and to make things even worse, he actually got injured in this game, and you just wonder. Well, actually, he wasn't playing injured in this one. He actually did get injured in this one, but again, that's bad news for RSL to see their main man that was really lighting up MLS early on, and he's been kind of gone through a bit of a cold streak. But also that came off of a turnover, or actually, McMath would deny Pellegrino on the back heel, and that also came off of a turnover from RSL. RSL was being very sloppy in this game, and again, the Quakes are taking full advantage of it. Lopez would then puts it high from long range, and then in the 33rd minute, Amal Pellegrino would score to give the Quakes a 2-0 lead. Again, I could have easily wrote, what is going on here? I mean, this feels like it's too good to be true that the Quakes, of course, are winning well. And also, at this point, I didn't really celebrate too much because I just feel like, yeah, eventually this is going to come to an end. This crazy ride is going to come to an and where eventually the real RSL will show up and the real Quakes team will show up in late play. I mean, I know the Quakes have had a good Leeds Cup run, but I didn't think that they were gonna with the way that after they lose to LAFC and kind of just show their old ways. I thought they were just gonna continue that throughout the season. Though Buddha when hits one right to McMath, look like we're in the alternative universe where the Quakes somehow has come to play. It feels like we're in that universe where the Quakes won 5-0 against Necaxa because again they were really putting a lot of pressure on this RSL team. Ojeda then puts it high from long range. The shots were 11-8 for the Quakes, but the shots on goal was alarming, 7-2 for the Quakes. I have not seen a game where the Quakes have been that outshot of a team in the first half in a very long time. And then, as I mentioned, Orango had to be subbed off after he was limping there. I think that this is more of a precaution. I don't think this is a serious injury, though. Knock on wood on that if you're an RSL fan. Julio, of course, replaced him there, and he looked like he almost had an instant impact, but he puts it wide from long range in the 44th minute. And we head to halftime with the Quakes somehow leading 2-0 in this game. In the second half, Gonzalez would miss wide from long range. Unsurprisingly, RSL was on the front foot as they were looking to try to get one back. Crooks would then heads it right to Daniel before Costa would heads wide from close range. Daniel then denied Palacio from long range. The bunker ball seems like it's back for the Quakes, and that usually does not go so well for this team whenever I mention bunker ball, especially in the latter part of the second half. Brook then missed wide from long range before he also missed wide from close in the 80th minute. You also just feel like this is just not going to be RSL night. But then again, this is the Quakes. I have seen them put in some good performance throughout the game, and they just completely hit the self-destruction button late in this game. But it didn't happen in this one because after Brooks hits it right to Danielle, the unthinkable happened. The San Jose Earthquakes out a shutout for only the second time this season. It's the first time they did it at on the road, and they go to American First Field, go into the riot, and put up a 2-0 shocking resort against RSL. And the shots of this one, 18 shots with a 15 of the Quakes had, but the Quakes had better in terms of shots on goal. 7 shots on goal with a 4 that RSL had. 10 shots off target compared to the 4 that the Quakes had. 4 shots that was blocked for the 6 that the Quakes had. And possession-wise, 63% possession compared to 37% possession the Quakes has in this game. And I know for the rest of the season, it doesn't really matter how many more wins the Quakes would put. This team is not make it to the playoffs, but it's definitely encouraging to see that this team is fighting hard. And Ian Russell, I mean, he is definitely auditioning for this job, and I think he's definitely got a chance to do so because we talk about the new interim head coach boost is definitely there. And while it wasn't there, at least in the beginning when Ian Russell took charge, ever since when they had that good Leagues Cup run, it has now carried into league play, and now it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the season. And this is kind of what I thought it was going to happen. Whenever you have a team that have nothing to play for, those are usually always the most dangerous team to play, especially you're vying for a playoff spot or even home field advantage, and that's kind of the case for RSL. Who, yeah, I mean this was probably one of the worst performance that they put, maybe the worst performance that they put this season at home. I mean, to lose to a team that is going to be nailed to look like they're going to win the supporter show. I mean, I don't think anyone saw this coming. As a Quakes fan, I definitely did not saw this coming, even if the Quakes had an incredible Leagues Cup run. But that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the last 2 games to finish off the review of this chaotic match week on the return of MLS play after a month-long break from the Leagues Cup. So moving on, in the next one is the Galaxy and Atlanta, and I feel like this game kind of played out as what you thought it would be, and that's kind of crazy to say because, as I mentioned, so far in some of the games I talked about earlier, it definitely did not go according to the script, but this one kind of did with the way that it's a Galaxy game when it's kind of end-to-end action in the beginning, and that of course is the case. It actually took a while before we saw the first goal of the game, but once the Galaxy did get that first goal. Yeah, they never looked back. And also, safe to say that Marco Royce definitely had a great debut and probably have one of the better debut as a Galaxy player since a certain Zlatan made his debut for the Galaxy in El Tráfico against LAFC. Now, in the first half, Saba would miss wide from close as that was the game first shot before Peck with the Galaxy first shot, but he puts that one wide. The Galaxy was on the front foot as they control the possession and look for the opening goal. Pooch then had a shot that was deflected and goes right to Guzan before TRA thought that he scored the opening goal of the game. The flag did not agree with him there, and that also wouldn't be the only time where Atlanta would get a goal top off because of offside. Fortune then curls it wide from long range, and I thought Atlanta has gone into this game. They started to create some dangerous chances of their own. Pooch would then puts it high from long range before Lobjanidze would cross it wide from the transition in the 31st minute. Again, the opener, it feels like at this point, was coming. Both of these teams was inching closer to getting the opening goal. Guzan would then deny Peck on the doorstep of goal. And then Silver looked like he got the opening goal for Atlanta. Again, the flag did not agree with him either. It was disallowed because of offside. And I mean, yep. This is definitely a Galaxy game when it's been end to end like that with both of these teams getting some big opportunity. Peck then hits one that was actually spilled by Guzan, but he was able to gather on the second attempt. And despite the fact that there's plenty of chances for both of these teams, we didn't see a goal in this one as we head to the second half, scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, Lobjanidze would put it over from long range as not much end-to-end action. I thought at least we saw in the first 10 minutes of the second half. Oh, that would of course start to change as we go. Fagundes would then puts it wide on the free kick before Guzan denied Fagundes, but it was still goal bound and somehow it was cleared off the line in the 61st minute. So yeah, the Galaxy they were pounding on the door for the opener, almost came close to do so. And then around that part, we get a big ovation as Marco Royce, of course, was subbed in for the first time as a Galaxy player. Something tells me that he's definitely going to do some good things for the Galaxy and as already more fuel to what already is a burning fire that this Galaxy attack has had throughout this season. Peck would then puts it wide from long range before a penalty actually was given to the Galaxy after Williams handballed this one in the box. So here comes Joseph Painto, a chance to buries it from the spot. I'm kind of surprised they actually did not ask Marco Royce to take this penalty. I mean, I know Marco Royce. I don't think he's not known for taking penalties during his time with Borussia Dortmund, but still, I would assume that you would give the new guy a chance to take the penalty. And penalty kicks has always been a problem for the Galaxy, at least for this season. They have struggled from the spot, and that kind of continue with Guzan denying Paintsill from the spot. I thought that actually was a relatively good save on Guzan rather than the fact that Paintsill didn't really hit that well. I think Guzan just guessed it right in that moment. And yeah, this game remains 0-0. Peck would then flash one wide from close range. Again, the Galaxy was pounding on the door, but again, is this going to be one of those nights where the Galaxy just could not finish? Well, the answer is no, because in the 74th minute, they finally found the breakthrough. It's Ricky Pooch. He scored from Marco Royce to give the Galaxy a 1-0 lead. Something tells me we could see that combination a couple of times in the future, because Marco Royce is not only a player that knows to be a goal scorer, but he's also a very good creative player throughout his career as well. Lobjanidze did look to answer, but he missed wide there. There was a shout for a penalty for Atlanta not given, but then in the 85th minute, Marco Royce would get on the score sheet for the first time on his debut. So yeah, his first career MLS goal, and that's after when Guzan actually denied him at the first time, but Royce with that great reaction there to pounce it on the second attempt. And yeah, just like that, it was 2-0 in favor of the Galaxy. Marinchik did look to respond, but he struck the post there. So, the DP number 9 for Atlanta almost getting a goal himself on his debut as well. Peck then puts it wide off of a deflection. Yeah, it was a rough night for Gabriel Peck. Not because of lack of trying, but it felt like he was kind of snake bitten in this game. And keep in mind, coming into this game, he had a streak where there's been a couple of games in a row where he's been either on the score sheet and on the assist chart. That streak unfortunately come to an end tonight. But what didn't come to an end for the Galaxy is their winning run at home. They win again in this one, a 2-0 win against Atlanta. The shots in this one, 20 shots for the 17 that Atlanta has, because of course there has to be a lot of shots in a game. It's not a Galaxy game if there's not going to be on average like 30 plus shots combined for both of these teams in a game. 8 shots on goal for the 3 that Atlanta has, 7 shots off target for the 6 that the Galaxy had, 6 shots off block for the 5 that Atlanta has, and possession-wise, 66% possession compared to 34% possession that Atlanta has in this game. So, good win here for the Galaxy. Continue to be at the top of the standings and also extending the lead, because LAFC didn't play this weekend because they were involved in the Leeds Cup final. But for Atlanta United, I mean, this game kind of just sums up the season for them, where this is a team that it's not because of lack of trying when it comes to their chances. They actually are one of the top team in terms of expectancy goal ratio, but there's a reason why I don't really mention too much and to emphasize the expectancy goal as a big thing, because time and time again we have seen that number is just a number. At the end of the day, what matters is on the score sheet. Atlanta wasn't clinical again in this one. And yeah, they I think with this resort, I think they might have also just fall off out of the playoffs, right, if I'm not mistaken, or I could be wrong. I think they're still above the red line, but yeah, they got some teams that is really hot on heels. Right now they don't pick up this recent form that has not been great for Atlanta this year. Now, moving on into the last game on this board, and talk about the craziest game of this week. It might be one of the craziest game that is this season, and this is a classic example of what happened when a game truly went MLS after dark. Because my word, this was absolutely bonkers in terms of what we saw from minute 1 all the way to 90. So early on in the 3rd minute, Evander would hit one right to Burkey before in the 9th minute, Simon Betcher would score from Hardo to give St. Louis a 1-0 lead. That was also the first shot for St. Louis, but just some bad set piece defending there from the Timbers there. They let Betcher wide open in the box. That is just not great marking whatsoever there. But yeah, that gives St. Louis a 1-0 lead. Mora did look to answer, but he missed wide there. And then Kessler would head it wide off the set piece in the 23rd minute. So Henry Kessler getting his first start for St. Louis ever since he got traded from New England. The Timbers were having problem dealing with set piece early in this one. They were having a lot of trouble in terms of being the first at the ball there. Berkey then denied Mosquera in the front post, and then a penalty was given to St. Louis as Araujo brought down Betcher in the box there. So here comes Edouard Leuven, a chance to give St. Louis a 2-0 lead. Edouard Leuven doesn't miss penalty, and he doesn't here, so he buries it to make it 2-0 in favor of St. Louis. But the Timbers instantly respond just 2 minutes later as Capacito Rodriguez would score for Mora and Evander to make it 2-1 in this one. Mora did try to make it 2-2, but he puts it wide from long range. But then before halftime, literally on the other end, Teuscher would score from Hartle to give St. Louis a 3-1 lead. This is also a combination we could see very often because both of these guys has really looked good ever since St. Louis, of course, got them off the transfer window. But yeah, just like that, it was 3-1 heading into the second half, and we were not done in terms of the goal scoring. So in the second half, Berkey would deny Evander in the front post, and then he denied Evander on a free kick cross that actually went by everyone there. So that was kind of almost similar to what we saw in the Leeds Cup, although in that Leeds Cup final, it was more of a cross from Cucho, not from the free kick that kind of went by everyone and it goes into the back of the net. The Timbers, of course, they have started it strong. They were trying to press to get one back, and they do exactly that in the 57th minute as Mora would score for Ferreira and Bravo to give the Timbers a free to or actually no, I'm sorry, to cut the deficit to 3-2. But unfortunately, that lead quickly was restored to 4-2 or back to 2 goals as Forensen would score here to make it 4-2 in this game. And I just feel like, yeah, MLS After Dark and optional defending is strong in this game. There was no defending whatsoever. Goals were flying left and right, and that continued in the 64th minute when Felipe Mora would make it 4-3 in this game. And I also thought that this game has gone completely insane and have gone after dark when even Roman Berkey is making mistake. Roman Berkey is one of the top goalkeeper in the league, and at times have single-handedly bailed out this St. Louis backline that has not been great this season. But here, I mean, just a rare mistake, just giving up a huge rebound there after the Vander shot that you expect Berkey should easily catch that. And again, defense. Eventually, I thought while it was nowhere to found, the good news is it eventually was found. It feels like it got tightened up as the half goes along, and that's great news for St. Louis because at this rate, I thought this was going to be similar to what we saw between DC and Dallas. Is this going to end like 7-5 or whatsoever? But that being said, in the 85th minute, it looked like we were level at 4 apiece when Anthony puts it into the back net. Unfortunately, the goal was disallowed for offside. We then get 12 minutes of stoppage time because, of course, we do. We have to have more of this, and it was good and bad news on my part because as I mentioned in part one when I was still doing this recording from a hotel in Minnesota, it was getting late at nighttime and I want to do the review as soon as the final game finished, and it doesn't help the fact that we're gonna have more action to be in play. But then again, this game has just been absolutely insane. So why not have more action as we head into stoppage time? And then of course, an MLS After Dark kind of game, and a chaotic game like this we saw is not going to finish without a controversial call. So this was a bit of a controversial call when Felipe Mora was giving a straight red after he did kind of stomp Durkin's head. Again, this was very controversial because I don't think Mora meant to do that. There was no malicious intent to do that. It just happened to be that as he was trying to hop over, he just stomped on the head of Durkin. And I can get the argument on both sides. On one hand, Timbers fan will be absolutely fuming about that because there was no malicious in 10, and some might say that there's nothing more could have done to get that out of the way, and it was just an accidental stomp. Whereas St. Louis fans will say that nope, it was not accidental. He knew what he was doing, and that anytime when you stomp on a player head, I mean that's endangers of a safety of a player, and it's usually going to be given a straight red card. Either way, though, yeah, the Timbers fan kind of reacted in the way you thought you feel like they were gonna react. They immediately chanted "Ref, you suck." Well, actually, they didn't chant "Ref, you suck," but they chanted in a very explicit way. I was actually surprised that Apple TV decided to not really cut the audio because it was pretty loud in terms of the "fu ref chant on the audio. And again, I'm pretty sure FCC is probably not happy when they hear and probably have a meltdown when they hear that happen. But that being said, though, in the 10th minute stoppage time, well, it's already been a chaotic game. So how can it make it even more chaotic and more after dark? Well, how about an Evander free kick goal? So he scored here in the 10th minute actually make it 4-4 again. Well, maybe don't lie, depending on your perspective of the red card on Felipe Mora, and also just a vintage Evander free kick, because of course it's got to be another goal. There cannot be a crazy sequence if there's not another goal in this one. And then Zubaric almost made it 5-4, but his shot was clear off the line there. There was a huge shout for a penalty for Portland that was not given. And when I mean there was a huge shout for a penalty, that was probably the loudest I've ever heard a shout for a penalty at Providence Park ever. Like, those Timbers fans, they were absolutely fuming at the referee. And I was actually also surprised that the referee after this game didn't get the same treatment as what happened in that U.S. Open Cup game between Seattle and the Portland Timbers, of them have to be escorted off by the police because of how bad, how angry those fans were in terms of the referee decision. But that being said, in the 14-man stoppage time, Hornwood puts it high from long range. Actually, I say in my previous point, I think that would have happened if the Timbers would have lost this game. But yeah, in the end, what a wild game this was. It ended in a 4-4 draw. I think this is the first time we have seen a 4-4 draw this season, and it's not very often you see that kind of score line. But the shots in this one, yeah, that's crazy. 34 shots in this game compared to the 14 that St. Louis had. 7 shots on the opener, the 13 that the Timbers had. 5 shots off target with the 4 that St. Louis had. 3 shots that was blocked with the 14 that the Timbers had. And possession-wise, 57% possession compared to the 43% possession that St. Louis has in this game. So, I mean, for both of these teams, I don't know if either of these sides is going to be happy with this result. I mean, for the Timbers, it's points drop at home, which is something that they haven't done a lot, and I don't think they play well in this game, especially defensively. They were all over the place defensively in this game, kind of similar to what we saw in the beginning of the season, where they were very good on the attack. They were absolutely a liability at the back. And then for St. Louis, I mean, I don't think they're happy either, because you had a multiple 2-goal lead in two different times in this one, only for it to be thrown away late in the game. It's got to be very frustrating if you're a St. Louis fan. But overall, if there's one thing that we're not disappointed, is in terms of what we saw in this game. My goodness, what a game this was! I'm so glad that I was able to watch this game even when I'm traveling, because as I mentioned, when I travel, there's a chance where I won't be able to get into this game. But because of this game happening relatively late at night, I was able to catch 10 and 4. I got back to the hotel relatively early just to catch these last two games, and then of course the Quakes versus RSL game that is. And also, that's the reason why I decided to chose this week to go to Minnesota to watch the Loons take on Seattle, because I think the time was in a perfect way, where after, when the game is over, I can just go straight back to the hotel and basically watch the remaining game without having to worry about missing too much action. I mean, I might miss at least in the busy action because I'm at the game right now, but I'll definitely won't miss the back end of the action, and that's what I saw in terms of these back end of the action, that really turns out to be very entertaining, and as it was kind of the case throughout this week as well. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of the review for these games. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of these games. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys do like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, and of course, we'll see you guys next time.